We do know it was a real struggle for them on Oregon, but as Fresh said, Coastline, with the problems we saw from NAVI, should suit them a little bit better. It should be easy.
In before 7-0
In before 7-0 speedrun. No, it should suit NAVI better.
They baited it. They banned the Nomad.
Well played, Empire.
Gridlock maybe? Or will NAVI really shoot themselves? In fact, forget about shooting yourselves in the foot. You've taken a shotgun and blown the whole thing off if you banned away something stupid like a gridlock. But no, Thatcher going to be the one that is taken off the board. I wonder if a Kai ban follows, because around the world we've seen a number of Kai bans now coming through on Coastline. Now, you might hear that line and think, Des, you're losing your marbles. Why would anyone ban that on this map? And that's because VIP is now a very heavily contested area. It's got the double wall in place. Lots of teams are looking to electrify it to deny entry. So you may see that come through here out of Empire, but no, they're leaning in towards the Valkyrie. So you may well see the Kai being brought along, especially by NAVI, knowing that Nath likes to play it when defending inside of the top floor area and looking to extend into VIP.
Yep, you've got to say smart play from Empire there, recognising exactly where they were doing the damage to NAVI, and they're going to try to continue that. NAVI having to lock down these roamers, having to lock down those flanks. They cannot keep getting surprised by Team Empire. Now then, looking at the way that Oregon went, you would say absolutely Empire are the favourites coming in here to Coastline. But let me tell you, off hundreds of hours of watching this game competitively, you'd be amazed how many times a team will run over somebody on their map choice, and then they will flip reverse it, come back and steal the other team's map away from them. So wouldn't be too much of a surprise to see NAVI turn things around here, but I feel like the first couple of rounds are particularly important for them. Attackers, we expect to have, you know, really the better of the two halves here, and NAVI, they need to come out strong, because otherwise the mental game, you just feel, is going to get on top of them.
Just a little bit. I'm most excited to see if Empire utilise this Nomad ban, because, again, Fresh spoke about it a lot on the desk. NAVI could bring along something like a Nomad and deny those two flanks away from Empire, Cool Vibe stairs and the main stairs. But with it not being available to NAVI, of course, they're not stepping in towards the gridlock. They're going back to almost an identical composition to what we saw back on Oregon, with one small change. You've got Blur instead bringing along the Ash here. Otherwise, things are pretty normal. And it's very, dare I say, rare to see double hard breach coming through on this map. For the longest time, we would see no hard breaches coming in on Coastline. We know now, of course, that with the wall being a key point of contestation, that you do want to bring at least one. But I feel like two might be a little bit heavy maybe coming out of NAVI. It screams to me comfort picks for the team.
Dan is offside. NAVI must pick him up. They cannot be surprised by somebody on the roam once again. We've got Blur just waiting down at the main door. In with the drone. Does he find the Malusi? Yes. Does he know about the Wamai in kitchen? That is my big question, because if he tries to move in here and aggressively take the gunfight against Always, he might well just come a cropper as Dan steps out of the kitchen and takes him down.
So they are droning. I'm glad to report that much, Ace. They've got two drones in front of Doki here, letting him march towards White Stairs, but they've stopped a little bit short here. They're getting themselves inside the building. They want this top floor control before they start looking for a push across. What makes me a little bit nervous is, again, this is quite a small map. You know, you can move very quickly towards the site. We're about a minute and 15 in, and NAVI are just getting control of the east side and now looking to step their way forward. So good progress being made, but he has no idea he's getting swung on. That is the laziest death yet again. Where are the drones?
Doki takes out the default cam. Shepard, that is all the signal that he needs to step out and find that opening kill. Dan will be, no, it's either actually shut down on the underneath. Blur moving in and catching him inside a service. Dan's going to just manage to slip away, but he was being challenged inside a kitchen on the vertical from the book. So I like that from NAVI. They've identified most of the locations of the Empire players, just not the one that mattered inside Aquarium. But 4 for 4, not going too badly so far, but they need to get moving, Des, because they've only got a minute left.
I don't know if it's Doki's just too keen and sometimes pushes a little bit far ahead of the team, because I was going to say before Doki did start pushing luggage, okay, they've got themselves a bit of control on the east here. Oh, and now Doki's pushing his way forwards, but he did so as a solo operator. Nath almost being taken out from behind the bar, but in comes secretly, vaults over, and the collective pairing make it work. Good teamwork, and something that is escaping them sometimes in the early rounds.
Most definitely now then. Joystick still being allowed to play underneath. Saves is downed, and Joystick has a nitro in hand, but shut down there. Blur holding a nice angle, and this this time it's Empire getting caught out by not knowing exactly where those Navi players are. 3 versus 2 in all effect here, with Saves still down on the ground. 25 seconds left to go, and Empire just trying to hold on at the minute, and you just don't feel like there's going to be an opportunity for them to really prevent a plant attempt. Saves does get picked up, but still gets taken down by Always. 2 versus 2, 10 seconds left to go. Navi cut down! How did they not take the opportunity to get in and get that diffuser down?
You're in a 4 versus 2, and it's not like you've made it a 2 versus 1 on Empire's side. They've taken 2 separate 1v2s and won. The 2 coming into VIP off the back of Always. Dan swinging onto Aqua and killing 2 by himself. That is a car crash by any definition for Navi. They should not be losing a 4 versus 2, and there is no nice way to put that one. That was terrible. That's all I can say. It was terrible.
3 versus 2. Let's, for argument's sake, say you leave Saves. Saves is down. 3 versus 2. The man that's gone in, I think it was Blur on Ash who went in to pick him up inside of VIP. Don't bother doing that. Get yourself round to Aquarium. You've got your 3 men inside of Aquarium. Empire at that point had 1 inside of Hooker and they had 1 at Vars. So they've been pushed all the way back. The opportunity is most certainly there to get the diffuser down, because there was no nitro on the side of those 2 Empire players, and there was no smoke canisters because Shepard had been taken down. So there was no opportunity for them to deny from range like that. It was going to be very difficult for them. So had Navi's focus been on getting that diffuser down, just get all 3 men working towards doing that rather than trying to pick Saves up, that's probably a different round.
What I find beautiful and horrifying at the same time, and it's one thing I love, to be fair, about this game between these 2, is the errors are obvious. We're seeing them laid out on the screen before us. It's very comfortable for us to see. That's great. What's slightly frustrating is the players are clearly aware of these issues going on, but are yet to find remedies to them. You know, hindsight's a beautiful thing, but the time they had there to play with, there's no reason why you can't rotate one of your players in Aqua back round to 90 to give support to the players that are getting the pickup inside of VIP. You're leaving yourself so exposed when 1 is down, 1's getting the res to get swung from Vars, and you know there is a Vars player as well. So just small little things like that, even if it runs the clock down to the last 10 to 15 seconds, at least you're going into it in a 4 versus 2, and you can close out from there.
So they're looking to get aggressive on the roam here. He's playing inside of the corridor. Des, they don't know he's there again. How many times am I going to have to say the same thing? Doki gets in and gets the trade, but you've lost your book, Des. They're attacking onto a bottom floor site. They want to be able to use those verticals. They wanted to get into Hooker and Billiards. They want to be able to make Empire sweat on site by opening up the ceiling above them, and they can't do that now.
It makes me sad, Tim. It's the only way I can put it. It makes me sad. They've found 2 kills back, so the round is somewhat stabilised, but after the happenings of round 1, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves and say that this looks like a comfortable position for Na'Vi, even though on paper it is. They've got 100 seconds, they've got the numbers advantage, they've got 4 frag grenades to play behind, they've got flashbangs, they have got all the tools, resources, players, everything to make this work for them. If they throw this one away, I don't know what to say.
Trying to push it into office now. We've got the Ash and Hibana looking to get in there and get that office wall open to just give an option. Another plant spot potentially. Secretly does have the diffuser in hand. There's a bit of pressure being applied towards the Sunrise side, and Saves gets himself a good kill from the hatch onto Joystick. 2 versus 4. Now, where have we seen this before, Des?
About 3 minutes ago, actually, Ace.
And how did that play out?
Not very well for Na'Vi.
Let's see if it plays out a little bit better this time. Shepard just trying to use those verticals against them.
He's got all 3 smoke canisters still in back pocket as well, and not really that much use when you're looking to challenge.
He's going to get one. He's going to get one.
Oh, looks away. In comes the step in as well. Oh, but he steps across perfectly. Shepard has got away with murder. Does he know about the man planting? Yes, he does, but he doesn't aim at the right time. Plant going back in. Dan, oh, what a shot, finds one. Can he see the head of the second? He knows that he's there, but couldn't quite find the kill. He's pushing in really aggressively. Pistol in hand, but Blur finds the kill. Na'Vi will get something out of this one, but for a few seconds there, Tim, my heart was going that Empire would get round 2 as well.
Certainly better from NAVI. They're able to close that attack out. That's been a bit of a problem for them so far. Able to find the man, and as you say, when Shepard just managed to sidestep, get the kill onto the Annie, you're like, ooh, which way is this going? But no, NAVI were able to dig their heels in, and they needed that, Des. As I said, coming into this, the first few rounds were important, and they didn't want that confidence just eating away as Empire start locking down Coastline defences. They've managed to get themselves an attack. Now it's about snowballing it.
I find this really interesting to see from Navi's side where the errors are. I keep speaking about the errors and how cool they are to see kind of coming to light and understanding them because they're so clear on the screen in front of you. But the one thing that alarms me is I spoke to a few coaches around the world, and a few said, you know, coming into finals, they're obviously important. We want to win the lion's share of that prize pool. I believe it's 50,000 euros for the winner. It's no small amount, so it is critical that you go on and try to win this to your best ability. But SI is, what, a couple of months away at this point, 6 to 8 weeks away? Some teams will be saying we don't want to show everything. We do not want this to be a scouting ground almost for all the other teams around the world to see our best. So for some, you'd say, okay, fair enough if they lose and they're not playing their best, it's because they aren't bringing along all their big strats. That's all well and good, but it's not strats that's losing Navi round so far. It's the fundamentals. It's the drone work. It's the team play. The things that we've seen Empire get right several times throughout this game on Oregon. On the attacking side, we saw them do it excellently. It's small things like that that concern me. Is it's not some high-level secret thing that you can conceal and hide away. No, it's the bare fundamentals of the game that are falling apart.
Certainly is. Doke going to be approaching the building quickly once again. Let's hope that the droning is a little bit more complete this time. They need to be aware of where those Empire players are. There's a couple underneath at this point inside a kitchen, but also about the same again up on the top floor. But Empire are being quite mobile here. They are rotating themselves around and just moving things out. Now work begins immediately on that VIP wall. The big question I've got, Des, is do they know that Scyther is playing there, or are they going to get hit through this breach when they open it up?
They are looking to get a drone in. Can they see the foot?
No.
They don't know. They can't see it because of the Mozzie Pest as well, which has denied away the information for them. Now they know the man's there. He knows he's been seen. Has got to be super careful because one, I think, has also dropped here off towards the left. It's Doke. He could spray through the wall here and hope for the corner shot to do all the work he needs.
Navi cannot lose a man here. They cannot. They know where Scyther is. They have him pinched from VIP and from Penthouse. They cannot lose a man to this. There's one inside a theatre who is providing a little bit of a nuisance there. In comes the kill. Doke gets Scyther, but with an immediate trade. But at least they got that kill onto Scyther. That was the important thing. I know I said they couldn't lose somebody. I'll let them off given that it was in the process of finding that opener.
They lose the 2 frag grenades though as well, so an overall net win coming in for the side of Empire, I would wager. C4 being consumed to make sure that kill came in, but nothing that you're going to complain about all that much. Let's see how things go in a 4 versus 4 as we have seen about 90 seconds burnt down here on the east side of the map. Says he's stepping through. They want this man inside a theatre, but aren't quite sure where he is until Nath comes in through white and gets a kill. Dan swings in. It's trade for trade. It's like playing leapfrog as kids again. And now we're down into a 3 versus 3.
Empire just looking to hold on, using the quick dash there, Dan, to get himself across no man's land and back into cover. Navi, do they think that they've got top floor? It's imperative that they find Joystick. It is essential that they know he is there because otherwise they're going to get hit on the flank once again. No. Opening the hatch, they've lost the drone going through the Aruni gate. I'm not sure that they're aware, Des. They're doing nothing to challenge onto the mute. Joystick is just waiting for his moment.
And he'll wait and wait until the dying seconds when they know the drop comes through. He can reassume control of the hatch, and here he comes on the step out as well. Knows that the man is trying to shoot through the floor.
It's a freebie. He's going to get a freebie.
They have no idea, surely. Oh, he misses the freebie shots as well. Will he lose his life for this one? It's now turned into a 1 versus 1. The Maverick pushing in, sees his head, but can't quite land the shots. It's back and forth, but it can't quite be found. Says is up on the deck, looking to find a kill, but he's left in a 1 versus 3. He gets the down, but he's got 15 seconds to play with here. This may not have been the round-deciding fight, but it has wasted more than enough time as Empire can sit tight, let the clock run down to 0, and Navi will lose round number 3.
Well played from Joystick once again. Might not have found the kill, but did everything that Empire needed because it was no coincidence that kills rained in elsewhere for Empire when that flank had come out, because you know that the Navi comms at that point are going to be absolutely alight with Joysticks up here on top floor with me. Where did he come from? There's going to be a lot of discussion going on about how things are going to change in that final 20 seconds. The concentration, the focus is lost, and the team is broken.
You can kind of see in that round more than any other, I think, as well, where it is that Na'Vi were being held up, where their kind of frustration was coming from. Because they did get drones in. They were trying their best to figure out where these players were, but there were pests, there were mute jammers, there were laser gates, there were all kinds of things to impede Na'Vi on their entry in towards the building. And I was going to talk a little bit about that mute, to be fair, but we've seen it changed away here for the Bandit. A lot of teams, and I think this will change, I don't know if by SI, but I think at some point teams will stop relying on mute to do all the denial work for them onto walls. More and more teams are saying, right, okay, chip one mute jammer at one end of the wall, one at the other, and that will do the job of keeping things closed up. But we saw it a little bit on Oregon. Na'Vi would just open up the top of the wall, they'd nade from below, they'd get a nade coming in over the top of the wall if so desired, clears out the mute jammers, and you're free to push forwards from there. So jammers aren't really effective at keeping a wall closed anymore. You need something like the Bandit to come in. Here I expect you'll see Empire Scyther specifically focusing on trying to keep the quad wall electrified, because last time around Na'Vi did get that angle opened up from luggage, and it gave them a great angle through to the players of Empire that were holding inside a hookah, holding around bars. It didn't stop Empire winning the round, but it definitely reduced the options they had to defend site with.
The reality is that it's getting harder and harder to close up a wall for an entire round. You know, once upon a day, you may well have found it possible to be able to keep certain angles closed throughout the entirety of the 3 minutes, but it's just less and less likely now. There are more tools for the attackers to get rid of them. Now it's more about how long can you keep it closed for, and as you say, the mute just really not too effective at that anymore because of the change. It used to be a cone, sorry, it was like a cylinder, if you will, from where the mute jammer was. It would go straight up, straight down, and it would cover that whole area. Now it's more like a sphere. It's an orb that surrounds the jammer in the centre, and so the top corners have been cut away. They're missing, and you can take full advantage of that to get open. And Na'Vi able to do that. Now then, they've got themselves established on the top floor. Doki, I think, just trying to bait a little bit there with the advanced drone deployment, where he doesn't go straight into the visual, the animation of looking at the drone, just seeing if the man would challenge him on the white stairs, but they didn't. Empire remaining patient for the time being.
Yeah, at the very least, he's watching more for the flank there as well, because they haven't got things like the Nomad. So there are two drones on the flank, one at the top of the stairs and one that's kind of tucked on the banister watching as the stairs come creeping in. So maybe Empire will wrongly assume there's only one there. It's always looking to do that on the flank, and you've got a couple of members, one of them holding here inside a theatre, sat on drones. You've got one inside a penthouse as they try and work their way across. What I will give to Doki at this time around, at least, is he hasn't charged his way forward and been picked off just yet. He's letting his team do the work to support him on the drones, give him the information, and then to start looking for where they can push and what they can achieve.
Saves has taken an awful lot of damage there, putting him down to about 5 HP, and one shot even through a wall at this point, I imagine, would be taking him down. Now the angle that you spoke about is looking to get opened up, but they've not picked up on the man downstairs, able to just take away those pellets nice and easily. And Empire have played beautifully into that Nomad Baden that they brought along there. They've been playing on the opposite floor to the site continually so far.
What I will give here is to going in for the plant, though. The drone came singing through into hookah and billiards, and oh my god, that's a friendly nade. He has to dodge out of there. That almost ruined it for them. But Doki correcting some errors here and finding a kill for himself, but now he's been traded out. It's just a Hibana all by herself. These two playing ring around the roses in blue bar, but it's won out by Blur. They've got more control on the downstairs, and the plant will be attempted again. A couple of members of Empire are low. Nath finding one back on the other side. It's a 4 versus 2. This one will get stuck. They will get out of dodge. They will lose a man on the exit, but that diffuser is down. Scyther and Dan have got it all to do.
Much better from Na'Vi. They're able to really lock down those flanks and not have Empire able to rotate themselves back inside. Somehow manages to win that fight with a headshot against Saves low health or not. That was going to be the end of it. Now then, he goes in to try and get this diffuser. He's going to do it. No, it's a 1v1. Can he stick it? Does he have time? He's got it done, Des. He's got it done.
How? Unbelievable again from Empire. Pros don't fake. I surely thought he would come off the diffuser and go for the fight, but opted instead to stick it the whole way through, and Empire get round 4. They're up yet again on 4-on-1. And looking back to map 1, the only round that Na'Vi won was round 2. We are seeing a repeat coming through all over again. The frustration is evident on Doki's face. Unfortunate that his is the biggest camera that we've got on the screen. You just saw him there for a second, head in hands. He knows this is falling apart, and this must be so infuriating for Na'Vi. They're together at boot camp. They've been working for a couple of months here to get all these mistakes corrected, to get things back on course after a terrible stage 3. And all that's really happening is it's looking like more and more of the problems that we saw in Stage 3, the team just not on the same page, unfortunately.
Scyther, honestly, Des, there was even a little bit inside of me screaming, let go of F.
Even you?
Even I.
The man who's got super good on his index finger to press F with.
There was a little bit of me thinking, you're going to have to come off this.
Christ. They'll need the fire department to get you off that F key when you're holding it down, mate. So I can only imagine what it says if you're the one sitting there thinking, surely you come off it. And some great shots have got to get landed.
Dan wins this.
Oh, I think it was Scyther's shot that came out. That was Dan here, was it? This one was
here.
the one?
This is the
little flip
This is the one. This is the one.
He doesn't even know where he's being shot from. You know, Blur, you need to be landing those shots. And Blur as a player, back in Stage 1, back in Stage 2, we were calling him Mr. Consistent and not quite the rookie kind of stepping in, but he was up there with the greatest players in Europe. And Stage 3 onwards, I don't know what's happened to him, but he's really fallen out of form, and it's quite sad to see because he was a formidable force, a cornerstone of the NAVI lineup before, and I'd love to see him back in shape, but clearly today is not the day for him to be back in form.
I mean, Blur had one of the best players of 2021, let's not forget that.
Oh, do you remember when he won 3 rounds against, it was against G2, wasn't it, that they shouldn't have won?
Yeah.
And he clutches out 3 rounds after being like 2-9, all map long on Consulate, pulls out some of the greatest plays that we have seen in EUL, bar none.
Yeah, absolutely, and like you say, it's sad to see a little bit of a struggle at the minute, but I'm sure that he'll find his form. I'm sure he'll get back to that old self that we are so used to seeing. But when is exactly the question. Now then, we've got once again Empire just playing free, I would say. They're absolutely free on where they move, where they play, where they rotate to. There's just nothing really sort of pinning them down at this point in time.
You always see the same setup coming out of Navi as well, where Sades will stop inside a theatre, sit on drones. Doki, with a drone at the top of White Stairs, will then also get one himself on that stairs, and that is kind of their flank watch, where they'll then look to step forwards. Here, I don't think he put his drone down on White Stairs. I'm pretty sure he threw it up 90 for their push to come in on that angle. Instead, it's a freebie onto Nath, who was all by himself inside of Aqua. No gunshots required, always once again being patient as a saint at the bottom of White, and all he's got to do is sit and bide his time. His time will come, that flank will be massive at the opportune moment, and Secret is now having to step into the grave where Nath once stood.
And a vertical nitro like that as an opener for me is a perfect kill.
Oh yeah.
It is a perfect kill because you are not exposing yourself to any danger whatsoever. It is completely and utterly free more often than not, and so Empire just taking full advantage of that. Now Navi trying to go in mob-handed, 2 of them push into office, secretly looking to make that challenge. He knows that Scyther's down there in security, he knows that somebody is somewhere around Sunroom and security, but just not sure exactly where. He's trying to keep the pressure off whilst the Hibana can get that work done, as Secretly has moved in and done so, but Scyther's just waiting for his moment here, Des. He needs to be careful though, because Secretly is very aware of that angle.
Oh, the fact there's 2 members of Empire ready to come hitting on the flank is unbelievable. Trying to force the man out of pink, but he's still sat on the other side of the wall, no issue at all. But look at Empire, you can just see the kind of deathly grip is starting to form. They've got a C4 ready to throw into blue, and in goes the Hibana, nice and deep, Secretly in the same spot as last time. They can't quite stop him apart from the swing. Where's the cover? There's no cover on the planter. It's a 4 versus 1. Empire pull off a perfect retake as we see Navi stepping for the execute, and that was an absolute mess coming out of the Navi boys. What is going on?
Let's look at the positive. Empire played that very, very well. Taking that opportunity to get through the rotation and take the planter down. You got to have some nerve to do that, because you're thinking, potentially there's going to be cover from single window. There's going to be cover coming in from office. But no, absolutely not. They're able to get through, take advantage, shut the plant down, and all of a sudden they're 4-1 up, and they are absolutely cruising on Coastline.
I look at it like, you saw what happened there, right? You had the Hibana going for the plant against the reinforced wall that leads into the other side. Immediately, the play coming out of Empire is someone vaults over the half wall just to the side of the planter and gets a freebie kill. I think Navi were trying to rely maybe a little too much on the blue window, or just assuming they wouldn't get pushed from security, but they did at the exact moment the Hibana pushed in. It was beautiful timing out of Empire, it was patient, and it was well executed when the push came in.
I think the lack of dealing with security and mainly main lobby really hurt Navi there as well, because we know that they were aware that there were players there. They stood watching it for 30 seconds to a minute, so they knew that they were out there. But that's why they had to go deep to try and plant there, because they couldn't plant behind the bar, because they know they're going to get challenged from main lobby across courtyard and under the wall that's been shot out. So without dealing with that, you can't really try and get the plant down, because you're not ready for the cover in the spot that you need to cover. So for me, it's just sort of trying to jump steps a little bit. It's like, we can't deal with these. You know, the answer can't be that we can't deal with these players. You've got to go in and deal with them. You've got to go in and get them kills. You know, that's part of the game. That's the next step. Get that cleared out, and then you can put the diffuser down in the optimal position. Instead of that, it's like, let's skip past that and go for a different plant spot.
Well, think about the number of teams that would normally push front door on this map, right, and try and squeeze the player that's sat inside of lobby. Navi's attempt has been get second floor. I mentioned it already with Saves and Doki. Their game plan every single round is get control of Penthouse Theatre, get drones on White Stairs, and kind of just pen in the members of Empire. Don't push them and try and kill them and take gunfights. Just pen them in and hope they don't do anything. And you touched on it, not having control of lobby meant that it was all too easy for Empire to rotate 2 players through there into security and look for the perfect push. So I think good patience being shown by Empire, but also a little bit of a weak hand being shown by Navi, where they aren't willing to challenge directly. They do that in this round, though. Dan is the one who falls down, traded out a couple of seconds later by Always. So, yes, you've killed the top fragger, but you still found yourself down a man. Joystick onto yet another, and it's scary how this scoreline is mirroring what we saw back on Oregon. Empire on the defense, the only round they've lost being round 2, are on course for a 5-1 half.
The scarier thing for Navi being that diffuser is now down, and it's being watched by Empire. They are aware they're going to have to move into challengers. Scyther finds the kill onto Doki, and once again, there's Empire are just systematically picking Navi apart. 4 versus 1, 4 versus none, as Joystick finds that final kill, and Empire lock out another half. 5-1. Could this be a mirror image of map 1? Could this be another 7-1 for Empire?
Well, all I'm going to say, Tim, is our day of casting may end very abruptly here in very few rounds. Uncharacteristic, where we'd normally see a couple of maps going to overtime. It's definitely not following us today, that's for sure. For Navi, you know, we keep on talking about Navi. It's because they're the team that have been on the attack for the most part. And normally it's up to the attackers to be the ones that determine the pace of a round, where the action's going to happen, which is why you focus on them. But again, I want to pile loads of praise on Empire here.
Absolutely.
They haven't had to do... You know, I don't think it's fair to say that Empire have had to give their best today. They have just been very patient. They have been disciplined. They have done what needs to be done without having to be too flashy or do anything too crazy.
You can only beat the team that's in front of you.
Exactly.
That is the only team that Empire can play against. It's Navi. And right now, they are finding and exploiting every single mistake and weakness that Navi are showing us. You know, Navi are making errors. There's no two ways about it. But that's not to say that Empire immediately come in and win that game then, because they still have to take advantage of those mistakes. But that is exactly what they're doing.
The way I put it is Empire don't look challenged.
No.
They aren't having to bring out their 110%. They can just cruise along here at a comfortable pace, do what they're doing every single round, and know that Navi are going to slip up, that they aren't going to have someone covering the planter whilst they're going for a plant between Blue Bar and Sunrise, for example. While they aren't going to get things right like they did in the last round, they won't clear out the man in office, they won't clear out lobby, they just won't care about the first floor. So I give it entirely over to Empire. They played it incredibly well so far, and now they get to go onto the attack. We may see a couple of rounds out of them, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's as far as it goes and Navi cannot find themselves around.
Joystick right on that service door, ready to start pushing in. Let's see if their clear and serve players outside of sight can be more effective than that we saw from Navi. We've got Dan also waiting to head inside of office, but could be quite a direct push coming in from Empire here. They are, of course, attacking onto kitchen and service. We've got the man on rappel looking to apply some pressure towards bomb chassis, where Secretly is playing, and for the time being, Empire have actually just dipped away a little bit and are looking for some alternative angles.
I was going to say they've got Dan on the Twitch, and commonly you see smokes employed for this site to cover off the long angle from like security up through lobby, up to the triple wall that then faces in towards service itself. But Dan's pushing on the south side of the map, so he's not really in a spot to make use of those. So clearly the game plan coming out of Empire is something alternative, likely relying on the 3 members that are out there, which I believe right now is Shepard, Joystick, and Always. You've got Scyther and Dan being the ones who are on the southwest side, looking to get control of blue and make sure they've got control at least here inside of Sunrise and blue side. Now you've also got the Ash rotating over, so Joystick has joined them. They don't want to go for a direct to site push.
Blur's going to dip away, and that is all the invitation that Dan needs to get himself inside of Office. Doki, however, does find the kill onto the Ash of Joystick. That's going to give Navi the advantage here on defence, and they need to keep going. Syther manages to get that trade, but that leaves us now 4 versus 4. Empire starting to build the pressure. They've got themselves inside of the map, and they're starting to narrow the gap between themselves and the Navi defenders. Blur's going to dip away and try and get back to site, but Navi are playing this a little bit better than we've seen previously, Des. They're being tentative on these engagements. They're not overstretching themselves, and they're winning them when they take them, most importantly.
They're perimeter playing, right? They're not looking to take direct engagements and run at Empire, but they're sitting there and just waiting, like you saw. I believe it's out of Blur that's been inside of security most of this round. They're not looking to go aggressive, but just enough that you give them a challenge, and then when they start gearing up for a 2v1 or a 3v1, you back away to another room and force them to re-drone again. This is why Empire have bled themselves down to just a couple of drones being out in the field. They've been slowly starved away. A great grenade coming in as Dan goes in for the drop, and now you might start to see an execute come together.
3 versus 3 secretly, just trying to hold down multiple angles here, which could prove deadly to him in the late round if he isn't able to spot where the pressure's coming from. Now then, Syther, Blur trade each other out, 2 versus 2. Empire, they're well aware that there is a man in behind that bomb chassis still, but there's only 10 seconds left to go here. Saves with an important kill. It's all up to Always. He's taking damage. He almost certainly loses this one as time ticks away. That's going to be it. Navi hold on and manage to get themselves a round, bringing us to 5-2.
A round being won is another round that Navi can keep themselves in this a little bit longer. Not necessarily the cleanest one for Empire, I think. Again, Navi played it very well, playing these perimeter positions and just slowly dialing themselves back. Empire did get control of large portions of the map, but I think the diffuser was down outside service entrance as well, which kind of orchestrated where the attack was going to come from, or where the plant would come from, meaning for Navi it was like, hey, well, if we station a couple of players off to this side of the map and then let Empire come at us, this could be a very easy cleanup, and that's exactly how it panned out. But with that round, Syther on a triple kill, gets himself up to 10 on the map so far, Tim, inside 7 rounds. Great performance from him so far.
Oh, he's absolutely flying.
Him and Dan together are just like, whoa.
The thing is, I feel like everybody on the side of Empire has had their moments so far. We've seen, big end of round moments from Shepard. We've seen Joystick top fragging, Dan and Always just working as an unbelievably dynamic duo, and now Syther stepping up on Coastline. They've all had their big contributions.
Yeah. Hopefully we get to see a little bit more out of Navi as well. I'd love to see them get a couple more defensive rounds on the board and make this map competitive at the very least, even if they lose out in the end. Just showing that you can compete and you can fight back against Empire would be a big confidence statement for the boys. Again, you saw Doki's head in his hands earlier. Clearly disappointed with how the day has gone so far. So building up that confidence is going to be critical, I think, as things play on. I do want to lean towards the drones that have been lost so far by Empire. They do only have 9, of course, because you have the Twitch. She only has the 1 normal drone, then the 2 in back pocket that are the shock drones. But they've lost 2 drones as well in the prep phase here. It's not the end of the world, but one worth noting, they have lost a couple there needlessly to the members of NAVI.
That's it, and we've seen just how important that information game is today. And talking about information, as you say, do they know that Blur is playing under the window? Absolutely not. Shut down, but Blur unaware that there is a second man following it up. Joystick able to get that trade, and that's something that Empire have done really well so far, Des. When they lose that opening man, there's so often a trade coming straight back in on the back of it.
On the attacking side, I'd agree. We saw Syther dying an awful lot back on Oregon, if you remember, to Doki just charging his way in through Small Tower and down Shower Corridor. Outside of that, though, yes, I would wager there have been a good number of trades that have come in on their side. Here we are, though, with about 45 seconds in. Of course, the 1-for-1 already not ideal, but beneficial, if nothing else, towards the side of Navi, because they've removed those frags that were in the back pocket of the sledge. They've removed the sledge, so a lot of vertical destruction being removed away. You're relying now pretty much solely on Always to do that job for you, plus potentially the breaching rounds coming out of the Ash. Not world-ending by any stretch, but still a lot of damage to lose such a critical operator in the current meta.
Empire just still working towards gaining map control and getting comfortable here. We can see the droning is still underway from them, just trying to narrow down these final Navi members before they think about pushing too aggressively towards site. They're getting the long angles opened up now. They can get themselves established inside VIP and just try to hold that down towards site, prevent any rotations or movement inside thereof.
I find it really interesting how separate the members of Empire play. Look back at Navi in the first half when you see Doki and Saves always pushing in together. The whole team would take control of the east side of the map and look to work their way across, all as a collective. But the members of Empire are scattered. You've got one upon Hookah Billiards, you've got one in Aqua, one out towards the east. Shepard's pushing his way into VIP. It either speaks to false confidence or a lot of general confidence, genuine confidence at that as well. And given how the series has gone so far, I understand it. But they're trying to take a lot of control all at once, which makes me a bit nervous. You lose one man, the whole area of the map where they died goes dark, and you've got no idea what's coming in from the Navi members then. So Empire needs to be careful if they do want to play this separated style. A great example here, now that Hookah and Billiards is completely dark, they have no idea what's going on.
Absolutely not. Joystick does manage to find the kill onto Nair. 3 versus 3, but time is ticking down. Again, it has been a long-standing problem for Empire, has been the management of that clock, and it could be something that they continue to struggle with here. They've got themselves inside of Aqua and VIP. They've got everybody forced back to site, so it is now the potential opportunity for them to think about getting a plant down. But as the Toxic Babe canisters to continue to flow from Secretly, he can pretty much take out the rest of the round here in time to close things out. Now Secretly gets the kill onto Joystick, and it is all down to Shepard as he is the last man alive in this 1 versus 3. Can't find anybody, and again a better defense coming out of Navi. 5-3 now, and they're starting to fight back on Coastline.
They are, yeah, and again, it's one I'll touch on. Empire being very scattered. We speak about the entries in the retrades they've played for. You didn't really get to see that in the mid.
Confident so far today. It just seems to have dipped off a little bit, and somehow Navi managed to have just put the wind up them a little bit.
My challenge would be that they're not lacking confidence, because otherwise they wouldn't send 4 players off to the high winds to go and do their own thing and take 1v1 gunfights. That's what they were hoping for, was they'd find 1v1s and take control of areas of the map. It's more the success rate in that round wasn't there, as we've seen in a couple of rounds for them, to be fair, so far, where they aren't hitting the shots like we saw back on Oregon. That's not to say that they can't regain that. One thing I am very grateful for Empire at least, is they haven't let this go to 5-5 or 5-6 before they've called a timeout, in the same way Navi called their timeout at 6-1. They said, right, 2 rounds have gone against us, now we have our timeout, now we have a conversation, and we try and get this back on track. Here's something a little bit uncharacteristic for you as well, Ace. We've got the Chanka and the Smoke coming out as a pairing. That's quite rare. Teams will employ Chanka over something like a Smoke in some rounds. You know, Breed I think of on BDS, a player that will do that. If they'll ban away the Smoke sometimes, the Chanka will be what they'll step into. What makes me slightly nervous is teams have been trying to make this Chanka work for the longest time, but we've commented several times that it just doesn't feel very effective. The fire isn't widespread enough to deny large areas of the map. You know, attackers can often just ignore it for the most part and find a way through it. I think it needs a small tweak where there's less charges in the canister, but a wider area of effect to be really useful to the defenders, to be honest.
This is a make or break round for me for Navi here, because they've taken them to Penthouse and Theatre. They've got, as you say, a little bit of an unusual, unorthodox setup with the castle, the Chanka, the Smoke. It's a little bit different. I feel like this round either goes really right or really wrong for them. If it's the former and it goes right, then I think it'd put themselves in good stead to push this one on and maybe get themselves to an overtime, maybe even win it in regulation. But if they lose here, Empire get themselves that 6th point, they get themselves that match point opportunity. It's going to be difficult. So I think it all hinges on this unusual setup from Navi.
Just a little. I think here they're trying to force their way in. They're not too worried, of course, about there being a mute or Mozzie, because there is none. This is where Navi got held up on their attacking side. Oh, but they can see him with the yellow ping as well. They know where Saves is holding. They can push in and go for the pre-fire. Harney loses it out. Of course he does. It's Joystick on the entry. Not quite expecting that breakneck pace to come out of the side of Empire. They've got themselves in a good couple of controlling positions here. 3 players looking to push in through VIP. 1 off on the window. And Navi have got such a focus out towards VIP here. The pressure is there, and Dan, finally, with that LMG singing away, will land a critical shot, bringing down Doki, and it's a 5 versus 3.
Secretly still established in 90 corridor, though. That might be something that Empire need to deal with, because he's going to be a constant thorn in their side if they try to play any sort of hold inside of VIP. Joystick just holding down that angle still from double window, and you got to feel that Empire are not too far away from having an opportunity to get this diffuser down inside of that double window, but they're just waiting at the moment. It's as if they want that one more kill. That's going to be the catalyst, and once they get it, they will get in there. I think they want to clear the corridor out and get themselves inside of bedroom rather than the double window plan. If they can, what a shot from Joystick! Absolutely deleting Secretly.
Here we go. Now does the Chanka be of any use? Oh, that second one hits. Will he commit to the plan here?
Stick it.
All the way through. His health goes down. Oh, he won't get it. But he was so close. The Chanka gets the kill. Shepard opting to stand by his plan, but it doesn't work out. The beauty being that Empire Empire have not left this one to the dying 15 seconds. They've got time to course correct by killing the Chanka. That denial is taken away. Now it's all down to Blur. No impacts left. They're going to rotate away inside the planting in an alternate location. Blur is left lost. No idea where this one is going down. May even die to the vertical. Finds the head of Dan, but the plant is down, and it's a 2 versus 1.
NAVI so close, Des, to keeping that diffuser from going down, and I thought the Blur and Tachanka combo were going to be enough to do it. Nathan, him teaming up, but just unable to stop that plant finally being secured. Blur trying to fight his way back in now, but he's low health and he's low on time. There's a man underneath, and there's very little chance that he does this. I think he gets picked up as he moves through. There it is, the shot's raining, enough to back him off, close him down, shut him out, and Empire get themselves onto match point, and it is the setup inside a Penthouse Theatre that NAVI rolled the dice on that ultimately does not get them the double 6 roll that they needed, and it does in fact leave Empire instead on 6. Get those 2-3 kills that just really puts them on the back foot.
Well, it's going to be Kitchen where we step into for potentially the final round of this first semi-final. Not only is it match point, it's also series point. NAVI would be out of the competition inside a couple of hours. A very quick exit for them. And Empire would proceed through into the grand finals against the winner of G2 and BDS, who, as a reminder, play after this series conclusion. So do stick around and join us in what is going to be another wonderful game, I'm sure. It's great at least to see that Empire are in full beans and full of confidence as well, because thinking about it, let's not forget with them stepping through into SI as well, that them being in good showing is a good bit of optimism for any EU fans out there, because I think many are stepping into SI for Europe and thinking, that's not really our tournament. Where you've got LATAM being as strong as they are, why Down 1 Kia have set the world on fire for APAC, for example. It's one of those that I'm looking at and thinking, can they really do enough? And dare I say, I don't think this has been a thing. I don't know if it was a drone or a jammer that just died to the reinforced wall, but there was a gadget that just blew up as the left reinforcement was done. I don't want to say it was the mute jammer, but something did die at his feet. Please don't be a mute jammer.
We'll see how easily access is gained into VIP and whether that has any impact or not. Empire just being cautious about that approach to the building. They don't want to get peeked out. They haven't had any of those attempts as of yet, but it's always possible. You can't leave it. You can't let it go from your mind, because that's certainly the second that you are going to get spawn peeked and you're going to get taken down. Empire all safely up to the line of the building, and again aggressively looking to move in potentially behind that Lion scan. The E1D just booming out there and just locking NAVI in place for a short time, just allowing angles like that to be taken advantage of. The shield taken out from in front of Secretly, and pressure mounting on that position already for the smoke.
Inside 45 seconds, yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you? If you can start putting pressure and forcing him away, getting rid of shields, it's the dream state to be in if you are the side of Empire. I like how, by the way, they adapted throughout these attacks to bring along the line, just kind of acknowledging we don't want to deal with any trouble from Dokiev on the Oryx, or Nath charging around on the Aruni, all those little things that can really impede them. You're looking at and thinking, right, let's put control on that pretty much immediately. A good angle being held as well by the Lion to watch if anyone does come charging down those stairs. It's kind of weird because for NAVI it feels largely like they are just terrified of playing anywhere near the ground floor. They've got 2 or 3 members upstairs. On the attacking side, they would always start on the top floor and push their way across rather than worrying about the downstairs. It's maybe a little bit too much of a committal on the top floor, but it is forcing Empire to come and try and match them here and force them back.
Joystick established at the top of White Stairs, just holding down the luggage rotate for the time being, while the rest of Team Empire look at getting some vertical pressure applied. They are established inside of VIP, they've got control of that area, and they can start thinking about opening things up. But right now, NAVI, 5 still left alive. Nate's taken a bit of damage on the Aruni, but other than that, they're sitting pretty. They've got 5 downstairs, and they're just waiting for Empire to make a move.
And Secretly running through a hot line of fire there as well, being charged up from the above, being threatened from all angles, but keeps himself alive and tucked in by the sinks inside of the kitchen. Bit of a war there between the Buck and the Zofia on okay, who gets to open the floor. And the Buck with the skeleton key saying, hey, it's me, take those breaching charges elsewhere. But with these verticals being opened up, with a player looking to challenge around the main lobby area or up into service door, you can see how this east side has been vacated by NAVI. Only the one player holding and always finds the vertical. Everyone else scattered out towards the west side and looking here to try and retake the top floor. I'm worried that it might be a little bit late for them, Tim.
Certainly could be. Joystick onto Blur.
Oh, Doki.
The Oryx, Doki just making that late rotate up the hatch, but Empire, they're looking to get things moving in the opposite direction, shifting downstairs. Shots once again raining through 5 versus 2. Surely this is it for NAVI now. Empire have got every opportunity. There's Doki. It's all up to Nath, but no, shut down as he drops down the hatch, and that is gonna be that. Empire, they win Coastline, they win Oregon, they win this EUL League semi-final to put themselves through to the grand final next weekend.
I am concerned by the number of times that we have seen Nath near the dying moments of a round see a player either whiff shots or not shoot him. I hate to hound on one man, but there were some big moments in this series that I feel he's really slipped